Robert Anderson, everybody. I just love this man. Thank you, Robert. Looks like love to me. Every time I look in your face, that's what I feel right there. Thank you so much. And welcome. So happy to see all of you this morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Castle Rock. And we are coming together. Last week we kicked off our From the Heart series in this wonderful, beautiful month of February. As last week I explained to you why it's my favorite month in the whole wide year. And now we are coming together. Last week we did Loving from the Heart, and this week we're going to do Living from the Heart. And first of all, I just have to tell you that my mother-in-law, Marvine, went into Rose Medical Center last week in an emergency heart situation, and she's in the cardiac unit there. And I want you to know that Miles, the Bronco mascot, went and visited her, I think it was on Thursday or Friday, and I am convinced that they are sending him out to all of the cardiac units in the local hospitals to make sure that it wasn't them that sent everybody there. And I have to tell you, as soon as Tony and I got the call on Wednesday morning and we headed out to the hospital, the Broncos is the first thing she talked to us about. So I'm a little on the fence thinking that they might be why she's in there. I'm not sure. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Me and Forrest Gump, that's all I've got to say about that. So what a week, huh? I want you to know that we have close to 30 people right now attending classes. All of our classes have started. Last class started last week. And when you've got that many people in the community actively engaged in classes, things are happening. Things are percolating. We're planting those conscious thoughts into the soil, into the law, and things are starting to take root. And demonstrations and manifestations are coming up all over the place. So just know that we are in total movement form now, and it's so exciting. So it has been quite the week. And this has been the perfect week for me to be concentrated on living from the heart. You know, I knew that was my talk title at the beginning of the week, and I'm convinced that that's one of the things that has seen me clearly throughout this week. Because when you live from the heart, I believe that you're more able to take life as it comes. You know, it's like this week, so many things due to weather, due to family emergencies, due to all kinds of different experiences, the week kind of got shuffled up like a snow globe. And so I just went into present mind awareness every single moment, and all I had to do was do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. And that's what living from the heart for me was like this week. So, you know, there's several books written about living from the heart. Lots of books, lots of people like to think about it and get involved in it. And we talked a lot last week about loving from the heart and what that entails and what it feels like and what it looks like. Living from the heart's a little different, though. People have written books and really have done their best to break it up and define it to the best of their knowledge and to figure it out and to figure out how to tell people to do it. And I'm here to tell you there is no right answer. You know, there's a reason why there's all kinds of thought-provoking books and scenarios out there about it, because there isn't any right answer. To me, it's all about connection. We talked about that last week, too. You know, when you're loving from the heart, when you're living from the heart, it means you're connecting. It means you're being present. It means that you are connecting, you know, the namaste principle, the divinity within me sees and honors and connects with the divinity within you. And when we get to do that from doing the next right thing and the next right thing throughout each and every moment of our day, to me, that's living from the heart. And some say it's difficult to do. So, you know, I'll ask you, think about living from your mind. Think about what that looks like. You're maybe creating your to-do list for the day or making your shopping list and thinking about usually things in the future or things in the past, preparing for things in the future. So when we live from the mind, that's generally kind of what it seems like to me. Now move into living from the heart. What does that look like? What does that feel like to you? Kind of brings you right here and now, doesn't it? Present moment awareness. Because some say it's difficult to do. Society is based on operating from a logical point of view and also from getting things done. We seem to be honored by our accomplishments. Well, living from the heart to me is both the poetic heart that is the instrument of deep feeling and the physical heart. We talked a little bit last week about that, about how the vibration, how we communicate with one another is really through a vibratory level. There's this energy and essence around us that we don't just communicate from the mind, we communicate from our heart, from our soul. And it's nonverbal, it's telekinetic, it's telekinesis. It's this energy that takes place. Well, living from the heart to me is this deep feeling, this poetic feeling of the heart that we just took a moment and went to. And it's taking that feeling and then the physical feeling, the common heartbeat. And it's synchronizing our cells, it's synchronizing our thoughts and our intentions, our feelings, our beliefs. It's synchronizing all of that to kind of create this embodiment that allows us then to do the next right thing in every moment of our lives when we step into that opportunity to live from the heart. To me, it's a source of inspiration. It's when we get into that rhythm, when we feel and connect to that key, and that concentration takes place. So I'm going to go over some steps. Here's my very own compilation. If I were to write a book on living from the heart, here's my steps. And I believe that we start out with inspiration. And I'm going to share a quote by Hafiz with you to best express this. Number 1, inspiration. The small woman builds cages for everyone she knows, while the sage, who has to duck her head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. Now think about that for a minute. The small woman builds cages for everyone she knows, while the sage, who has to duck her head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. You know, many of us live our lives in cages like shame and fear and perfection. Or how about pleasing people? Or just plain old judgment. But we are too wild and we're too beautiful to be held in cages, aren't we? We discover that each and every day. That's right, Kathy. Yep. Too wild, too beautiful. You can't cage this. You can try, but you can't cage this. That's right. So look into your soul right now. Just touch base with your soul right here and now and notice it's stirring, isn't it? There is something stirring within your soul. And do you sense a rowdiness inside there at all? So whenever you touch in with your soul and you feel a little sense of rowdiness, that's your soul telling you that it's ready to break out and to live free. And I want you to know that in everything that I do, I want to be a key dropper. I want to drop those keys in everything that I do. In my personal life, in my occupation, in my career as your minister, I want to be the key dropper in your life. And I am longing for you to attract more and more key droppers in your life that unlocks that cage. So as Hafiz likes to beckon, come out, come out, come out and play. So I believe that what people need is a good listening to. That's really what people need, is a good listening to. We remember who we are no matter what kind of week we've had. I know who you are. You come here this morning, I see you, I see you. I know who you are. I know the spirit that indwells within you is the most holy of holy, born of that divine spirit. There is a perfect idea in each of us that is informing us of who we are. When you go within, connect with that spirit, that soul, that stirring piece of you. There is a lesson that life constantly enforces, and it's look underfoot. You are always nearer to the true sources of your power than you think. The lure of the distant and the difficult is deceptive. The great opportunity is where you are. Don't despise your own place and your own hour. Every place is the center of the world. John Burroughs says this. So it's all about perspective. A good old healthy perspective. I want to give you an example of a good old healthy perspective from one of our teens that lives in California. His name is Josh Chinley. And he posted on Facebook. Now how's this for a good old healthy perspective? He posted this on Facebook not too long ago. I just got up and looked in the mirror and bam, I got struck with the view of an unshaven 16-year-old with anti-gravity hair and designer bags under my eyes. Needless to say, I look fabulous when I wake up in the morning. Good old Josh, that is a healthy perspective, because I can tell you, I wake up pretty much every morning with designer bags under my eyes, and I'm learning from Josh to say, bam, I look good when I wake up in the morning. Don't try to cage this. Just don't do it. Rumi wrote, every tree, every growing thing as it grows affirms one truth. You harvest what you sow, with life as fleeting as a half-drawn breath. You have no need to plant anything but love. All you can see is its roots in the unseen. Forms change, essence remains. Every sight will vanish, however gorgeous. Every word will fade, however sweet. Be of strong heart, and where they come from is everlasting and renewing. The only thing we ever need to plant is love. So that was inspiration. Number 2, release the judging. When we step into living from the heart in each and every moment, doing the next good thing, in order to do that, we're going to have to let judgment go. Ram Dass says, when you no longer are laying the trips on anyone, and no longer judging, discriminating individual differences, you become the environment in which optimum growth is available to all human beings you come into contact with. That's what I'm into. Optimum growth with any and all beings that you come into contact with. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel like you're building something up there? I want to be building something up. Yes. So the sooner one develops compassion in this journey called life, the better. Compassion lets us appreciate that each individual is doing what he or she must do in that moment, and that there is no reason to judge another person or yourself. You merely do what you can to further your own awakening. So you do the next right thing and the next right thing. I love reading certain blogs, and this one woman that I love reading her blog that I shared a little bit with you about her son's teacher last week, she wrote that she's working on firing the judge in her head. And I wanted to just kind of put that out there in number 2, releasing the judging. What if we all fired the judge in our head? And what if we hired the witness? Think of the difference there. Because as it turns out, when you start to judge yourself less harshly, you automatically start judging other people less harshly. Because you can't fire the judge of you and keep employed the judge of others. So it really kind of goes hand in hand. And what a beautiful gift we get when we decide to let go and release that need and that feeling of judging, especially those quick, impulsive ones. You know the ones I mean? You know, we're going along with the day, and we're feeling at one and zen and home, and just knowing that we're just all love, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and we have no idea why, we come up with that split, harsh judgment on something that we see or something that we see somebody do. Where'd that come from? So let's all be consciously aware. Let's fire that judge that likes to sit on platform over our own lives and then the lives of others. And let's hire the witness. You know, I was at the Capitol all day on Monday in a meeting for the Colorado Interfaith Alliance. And as a part of that meeting, we were sitting in to hear testimony of a particular subcommittee of the Senate. And I so get that. I mean, this is really where I got this idea, was sitting all day, especially in the afternoon in that room, Because how they do those hearings is they have somebody that is for whatever this bill is that they're looking to pass, and somebody that's opposed to it. And they testify for, against, for, against, for, against, so that the committee members can hear a balanced viewpoint and balanced testimony of each of how they feel about that bill being passed. And I got it, because although myself personally, I had an opinion about the bill and whether I was for and against it, yet I sat there as the witness. I witnessed what each person was bringing as their personal testimony. And I honored it, and I accepted it. And to me, living from the heart was being able to take in what they were sharing as their truth and not having it ignite me in any way, shape, or form. Whether I agreed or disagreed with what they were sharing, that really didn't matter. Because what we all really need is listening to, right? Is to be heard. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I wouldn't want everybody to agree with me. So it's really interesting, isn't it, when we let go of that judgment and we hire that witness. I'm going to invite all of you to go into your week this week and just notice. Pay attention to how you're feeling. And if something comes up that's causing you to do that split judgment on something that you see or something that you see somebody do, pay attention to that and see how ready and willing you'd be willing to release that need to put them in a box, to put them in a cage based on your expectations or your perspective. I don't want to spend the rest of my life deciding who's right and who's wrong, who's good and who's bad. That's not feeling like building up to me. That doesn't feel like living from the heart to me. And I'll tell you that I think that that's one of the things that causes people when they get older to become cranky and to have their muscles feel old, tired, and cranky, and sore, and weary, and afraid, and frail. I think it's because people refuse to widen. They agree to narrow, and they narrow, and they narrow, and their bodies become so frigid along with their mind and what they're willing to take in. I'm not interested in that. I want to become wider and wider. I mean, not literally, figuratively. I'm doing a pretty good job of that. But I want my awareness and my soul and my spirit to become wider and wider and wider and take in everything and accept it as other people's truth, whether I agree with it or not. So that was number 2, release the judgment. Number 3, passion. Wayne Dyer says this about passion. Living from the heart, got to have passion. Here's a concept you won't want to forget. Passion always trumps excuses. Did you ever notice that? That I am passionate about, it always trumps any excuse I could possibly create for it to not take place. And Wayne Dyer says, keep in mind that when I use the word passion, I'm not referring to romantic notions that this concept conjures. Instead, I'm equating it to a vigorous kind of enthusiasm that you feel deep within you that isn't easy to explain or define. The kind of passion that propels you in a direction that seems motivated by a force beyond your control. It's the inner excitement of being on the right path, doing what feels good to you and what you know you were meant to do. I feel that a whole lot in my life right now. How many of you out there are feeling that right now in your life? You got that passion. You're living from the heart. Because to me, that's what it's all about. In our practitioner meeting on last Sunday, we did a little exercise where we drew stars, and we got to speak about it, and my star was passion. Every time I do those activities, I get passion. Because I'm a very passionate person. I'm passionate about what I'm passionate about. And it was just wonderful because we were in breakout sessions and I got to express it, and it feels so good. So if you haven't lately had a chance to talk, especially all those people that raised their hands, if you haven't lately had a chance to share your passion with somebody, take that moment. Because it's like throwing kindling on a fire. It's a wonderful feeling. So let's throw kindling on that fire of passion that's within each and every one of our souls, because that's living from the heart. And that's how we get to live from the heart. Passion tells you this is the right thing to do. And to me, living from the heart is going to the very next thing. Let me do the very next right thing. And did you ever notice that when you're enthusiastic about something, nothing feels difficult? When I'm enthusiastic about something, anything, I mean, like the teen group, so enthusiastic about that, nothing seems difficult about that. I could have a mountain high something that I've got to do or get over, and it doesn't feel difficult at all because I'm enthusiastic about it. So that's passion. Number 4, being carefree. Living from the heart, I believe, takes on a bit of living carefree. When I say live carefree, what comes to your feeling? What comes to your heart right now when you imagine being carefree? I have to admit, it doesn't, and of course here I'm judging, it doesn't happen as often in my life as I'd like it to, yet I am open to inviting more of it, to live carefree. And so there's this study that was done because cancer patients realized that that's the one thing that they miss the most after they receive a diagnosis and they're beginning treatment. They were polled and they said, we really miss living carefree. And they said, I wish I could do that, but for now it's impossible. And after folks started hearing that over and over again, a group decided to get together and say, this is not impossible. We can really do this for them. And how many of you heard about the group that got the 20 cancer patients together and got a bunch of world-renowned artists and makeup artists and hairdressers together, and they did an experiment on how to move that impossibility into a possibility? Because I've got a short clip of that, and I'm going to show it to you. And what they did was they asked them to keep their eyes closed the whole time they were making them up. And then they put a camera behind the mirror so that the cameraman could capture their carefreeness, could capture their response for when they opened their eyes and they saw how they had been made up. It's quite touching, quite beautiful, and actually quite funny. And I wanted to share this with you this morning. So Eric's got it run up. I'm starting at a minute in, and so that we can just watch what their responses were when they opened their eyes. So while Eric is working on that, I'll just continue to talk, and you can work on just seeing if that'll come up. What it is depicting is when they open their eyes, you can get and gain the essence of that feeling. It was a beautiful experiment, and what the photographer did was captured it and then created a large picture for each one of them and made it into a book. And it actually spurred on their healing. It provided some great therapy for them. Thank you so much, Eric. felt it from your laughter. You guys got the essence of what it was when they opened their eyes and they felt that carefreeness. You know, that feeling of, and I do it when I feel it, and I catch myself. I really do laugh out loud when things happen that I move into a state like that. I laugh out loud. So just imagine living from the heart is when we are also in that space. And I know and I affirm that I am attracting more opportunities to live in that space, living from the heart in a carefree way. And I wanted to also point out that the people that had the idea to do that, they're living from the heart too, from inspiration and allowing their passion to make that happen for those cancer patients. Isn't that amazing and miraculous? Because that's also what happens when we live from the heart, is we have those divine ideas that make a difference, that make an incredible difference in the lives of other people. And it's a beautiful thing. So the cancer patients that says, I wish I could do that, but for now it's impossible, it's not impossible. Not at all. Number 5, be still. There's a component of living from the heart where we all truly have to move into times where we're still. And you know, this week there's been a lot of Facebook posts, a lot of emails going on about Philip Seymour Hoffman's death. You know, he was a very loved actor and a very, looked upon and admired professional in the entertainment industry. And I think it caused everybody a little bit of a pause to hear of his passing away and that it was an overdose after he had been clean for so long and he had gone through that suffering of addiction so much in his life. And to those of you, and this is a writing that I picked up from Glennon, a woman by the name of Glennon, who is an addict herself. And she wrote this about how she felt about his passing. To those of you tethered to drugs or booze or food or perfection or work or shopping or any other life painkiller, I would say this: you must stop running from your broken heart. You know, that really touched me. I never really looked at it like that. She says, a broken heart won't kill you, but running will. It doesn't kill your body. Running takes your soul. And so I got to thinking about that, and I'm like, we got to be still. We got to be still and willing to be with ourselves and not run from anything that we may be feeling and may be needing to heal. We got to be still and be with ourselves long enough to know that we need help. That's living from the heart. You must stand still long enough to feel it. The only person on earth you must answer to is yourself. And we do that in the stillness. So Glennon posted, today is the day to stop running. And I really wanted to put that out there in my talk today to all of you. You know, the simple way of getting still, I have this picture in my dining room that I love. It's a picture of a winter scene with one lone tree, and it says, "Be still and know that I am God." And there's this meditation you can do. You can start out by saying that aloud or quietly, "Be still and know that I am God." Take a couple of deep breaths and then say, "Be still and know that I am." Take a couple of deep breaths. Be still and know. Take a few more breaths. Be still. And then you come down to just be. And then when you drop the be, you are in that. You are in and of that stillness, that be still and know that I am God. You are fully and completely in that essence. And just soak it up. Allow yourself to be. So living from the heart, number 5, be still. Number 6, know you matter. You are here because you matter. Why would you come to this dance called life and not dance? You know, I believe that when you live from the heart, you bring your whole self to the people in your life. You do not abandon yourself. You do not abandon your people. You apologize for mistakes, but never for who you are. You accept and embrace yourself. You build a safe place for this true self, but you throw the gates open to others, often to make yourself a safe place for them too. You use your power for love. You are free. You're not caged. And you become key droppers. There's a story about a woman that became poignantly aware that she was living more from the heart now than she used to be because she was early arriving to a location to go to an appointment, and it was a really pretty day outside, and there was a park bench right outside of where she was going to meet. So she was about 10 minutes early. She decided to sit on the park bench and just soak up the beautiful day. And just a few seconds later, a man about her age came and sat down next to her. And she noticed that he had some match cars in his hand. And he was dressed, you know, very similar to the way she was dressed. And then a few more seconds later, he said in a very monotone voice, "Hi, my name is Travis." And she realized in that moment that he probably had some sort of disability of some kind. And she said she noticed that the old her probably would have gotten up and moved on. But something within her told her to stay, to live from the heart. And she turned to him and said, "Hi, my name is Angela. It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" And he started talking about the beautiful day, and they started exchanging pleasantries until there wasn't anything else to say, so they became quiet. And he reached out and he took hold of her hand. Now, she said, in the past, that would have probably freaked her out a little bit. But she said it wasn't in a weird kind of way. She said it was kind of in a way where a child would reach out and just hold your hand just for comfort, thanking you for being there. And she said it felt really good. She sat there, and they just sat there holding each other's hands until the 10 minutes was up, and it was time for her to go to her appointment. So she thanked him and got up and said it was nice to meet you and was going to go to her appointment. And he said, "Thank you so much. I was lonely." She said that really touched her. He was lonely, and she was living from the heart. So there was a connection made. There was a time in that very moment where she did the next best thing. She did the next right thing. And a connection was able to take place. And somebody that was lonely no longer felt lonely. Number 7, the time is now. Not when you think you are ready. The time is now. Glennon also tells this really hilarious story. And with this light, I don't know if you know this or not, but I cannot see you guys at all. And it's a little different today. Sometimes I can see you a little bit. So it's kind of hard for when I can't gauge if you guys are ready for like a really funny story or not, because this one's pretty funny. So I'm just going to go for it. But this is all about, thank you so much. This is all about stepping out and doing it, whether you think you're ready or not, because if we ever waited for the time, thank you, if we ever waited for the time when we think we're going to be ready, it's most likely never going to happen. Because when do we ever really feel ready? You know, I'll have a child when I feel ready, or I'll do this when I feel ready. Well, does that time ever come? I'm not really sure. But Glennon says, you know, don't feel alone, because Jesus had the same issue. And we're going to tell you a story about that. Jesus had been preparing to do his thing for a little over 30 years, but had never performed any sort of public miracle yet. So one night, he was with his buddies and his mom, and they were at this killer wedding. There was wine and flowers. It was a 3-day, 3-night, extravagant, epic party. And the host of the wedding ran out of wine. So they were all sitting around saying, Jesus, man, this sucks. We're out of wine. What are we going to do? And because there wasn't, say, a local brew pub to go run to and get more wine or anything like that, Mary just all of a sudden remembered, hey, wait a minute, I forgot, my kid's God. So she ran and found Jesus and said something like, hey, kid, we're out of wine. Do that miracle thingy quick. Do that miracle thing quick. And Jesus did a funny thing. He looked at her and said, woman, no, it is not my time. Now, we don't know what Mary said to Jesus next. All we know is all of a sudden, he goes around and starts changing all of the water to wine at that wedding, stat. So my guess is that Mary probably stopped in her tracks, gave Jesus a pointed look that clearly conveyed the message, I am unsure of what your lack of readiness has to do with the fact that we need more wine. And additionally, if you call me woman again, I'll smack you upside the head with one of those holy sandals. So for this, she says, we can learn 2 things. No matter who you are, when your mom asks for wine, make it happen, since you're likely the reason that she needs it in the first place. And number 2, forget it. Just go to number 1. So anyway, this is all to say that if you don't feel ready, if you are waiting to get started doing your thing, then you are in good company. For even Jesus was unprepared to begin. And I want to say to you, I am unsure of what your lack of readiness has to do with the fact that the world needs the little miracle that only you can perform. The world needs you to use your gift, ready or not. And it's the gift that you're feeling passionate about. It's the gift that allows you to live from the heart. It's the gift that allows you to sit on the park bench and hold hands with someone named Travis. Number 8, feed your soul. What makes you happy? What is the one thing that you could do today that has nothing to do with the roles that you play and just feed your soul? Because it's important. It's important to feed your body, your mind, and your soul every single day. You know, if we're going to go out there, if we're going to ask for our daily bread, we've got to take the time to receive it and eat it. Do you ever think about that? Who's taking the time to receive and eat their daily bread? And I'm not talking about just chowing it down and moving on to the next thing. I'm talking about tasting it. I'm talking about savoring it, embodying it, believing in it, rejoicing in it. Feed your soul. I want to go to the next slide, Eric, because there is a woman that went to a school and had a meeting in the administration department, and she noticed that there were letters on the wall written by children, and she noticed something that almost every one of them had in it. And I just brought 3 to show you. But every one of them had, I want my family to be happy. Go to the next slide. I have some dreams. I want to get better at reading. I want my family to be happy. Next slide. I have a dream. I think that says I want to be a pop singer. But other than that, being a pop singer, I want my family to be happy. Do you see that? Almost every one of those letters written by those children just wanted their family to be happy. That's what I'm talking about. Are you happy? Are you feeding your soul? If kids were going to write a letter on the wall about your family, would they say, I want my family to be happy? Take that in. Just take it in. So I'm going to conclude today, went over those 8 living from the heart moments, and I'm going to conclude with some more of those little short stories that I concluded with last week because I didn't get to go through all of them that I wanted to. And if you all were here, you'll know that I'm talking about those, and I'm not going to do all 60, don't worry, those 60 tiny love stories that make you smile and you might also shed a tear. Today, my 75-year-old grandpa, who has been blind from cataracts for almost 15 years, said to me, "Your grandma is just the most beautiful thing, isn't she?" And I paused a second and said, "Yes, she is. I bet you miss seeing that beauty on a daily basis." "Sweetie," my grandpa said, "I still see her beauty every day. In fact, I see it more now than I used to when we were young." Today, my 88-year-old grandmother and her 17-year-old cat are both blind. My grandmother's guide dog leads my grandmother around the house, which is normal. But lately, he's been guiding her cat around the house too. When her cat meows, he walks up, rubs against her, and then she follows directly behind him to her food, to her litter box, and to the other end of the house for a nap. Today is our 10th anniversary, but since my husband and I are both recently unemployed, we agreed not to get each other any gifts. When I woke up this morning, my husband was already up, so I walked downstairs and found beautiful wildflowers arranged all over the house. There must have been 400 total, and he didn't spend a dime. Today and every day for the last 2 months since I returned to school with burn scars on my face after being hospitalized for nearly a month, for injuries I sustained in a house fire, a red rose was taped to my locker when I got to school every single morning. I have no clue who's getting to school early to do this, and I even arrived early myself one morning to try to figure it out, but the rose was already there. Somebody's living from their heart there. Somebody's making that connection. Today, due to Alzheimer's and dementia, my grandfather usually can't remember who my grandmother is when he wakes up in the morning. It bothered my grandmother for about a year when it first happened, but now she's fully supportive of his condition. And in fact, she plays a game every day where she tries to get my grandfather to ask her to remarry him before dinner time. She hasn't failed yet. Isn't that wonderful? Just wonderful. And there's so many more, and I invite you to go and check them out. So there you have it, living from the heart. There's so many ways that we can bring that conscious awareness into our life and enter more into that experience of living from our heart. I invite you to be inspired, to bring passion into your life. Feed your soul. Think about what the kids would write about your family in the letter. Be still. Take in all of those tips that we covered today and go with me in knowing that we are entering into this awareness right here and now that we have a divine birthright. That divine birthright is that we express and experience Spirit, God, the divine, love, in every aspect of our being. And it is truly our birthright to express that in all of our unique individual ways. Knowing that we are made perfectly in the image and likeness of the Spirit. We know that any desire and need to judge just completely falls away. That we embrace all. That people just want to be heard. And that we enter into this experience knowing that it is unto us to receive that daily bread and then feast on it. To allow it to embody us. so much so that we are living from the heart, doing the next right thing in each and every moment. And for this we rejoice. We are so grateful, and we allow it to be right here and now, and so it is.